Hi, my name is Fiona and I'm a team leader for Dr. Joe, and I'm here to give you a little bit more information about the blessing of the energy centers and how to do the meditation. So the first thing that I really strongly recommend that you do is that track number 1 on your download or on your CD will be an introduction done by Dr. Joe. It is really super duper important that you listen to this introduction track because it'll give you really good science behind why we do the blessing of the energy centers, and it will also build a model so you can go into your meditation having a sound scientific understanding about what you're doing and why you're following certain instructions given within the meditation. I also really recommend that if you've been doing the meditation for a month or a couple of weeks, that you go back and listen to the introduction track again. We tend to hear or receive information at the level that we're at. So I find it really useful to go back and listen to the introduction tracks after I've been doing a particular meditation for a couple of weeks, because I hear something different every time that I listen to it. And that helps me build a greater model and gives me more awareness of why I'm doing something particular within the meditation. So again, listen to that introduction track and then go back and listen to it again, because you'll hear something completely different, and that'll give you a whole pile of information about why you're doing the meditation in a particular way. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about in the meditation is to make sure that you start in order. So the blessing of the energy centers have been done to build upon one another. And when I say order, that means the order of the CDs or downloads, not the order of the energy centers. So there are at the current time 6 blessing of the energy center tracks, or CDs and downloads. So if you're new to the work, please always start with number 1. That is where we start just learning to find and tune into each of the energy centers, feel the energy around it, and then feel an elevated emotion associated with it. Then track number 2 is where we add some symbols and we build upon that. And then track 3, we have a lie down section, and we have the breath that's incorporated into it. So each blessing of the energy centers CDs builds upon one upon another, and it's absolutely imperative that you start in the order that they're designed to go, and to move on only when you feel like you have really I don't want to use the word conquered, but when you feel like you've really mastered the track or the CD that you're working with. Because once you've done that and you understand the concepts and the teachings within that meditation, then it's time to move on to the next one and be able to add another layer in there. But until you understand what you're doing and you can follow the instructions in whichever particular blessing of the energy centers that you're working on, there's no point moving on to the next one, because it'll just build upon that. So what you want to do is just make sure that every aspect of the instructions that you're giving, you understand why you're doing it and that you can follow that. And once you can do that and you can move from each energy center easily and you understand the instruction and why you're doing it, then it's time to move on to the next CD. Okay, so you're ready to start the meditation, but the first thing you need to know is where each of the energy centers is located. There is a really great image of this on the cover of Blessing of the Energy Centers number 2. So I highly recommend you have a look at that. But for a quick verbal of where they all are, energy center number 1 is located in the perineum. This is located between the anus and the genitals. Energy center number 2 is located just behind the navel, just slightly below there. Energy center number 3 is in the pit of the gut, which I'll show you is here, right in the middle of the sort of torso, right where your ribs sort of come around and there's a space there. Energy center number 4 is of course over the heart, but over the center of the sternum. Energy center number 5 is the throat. Energy center number 6 correlates with the pineal gland, and it's located at the back of the throat and the back of the head. That anatomically is where the pineal gland is located in the head. Energy center number 7 is associated with the master gland, the pituitary gland, and is located in the middle of the head. And the only energy center that is not located on the body is energy center number 8, which is located 16 inches above the head. So now that you know where the energy centers are, you're ready to start the meditation. Now, the first thing that Dr. Joe is going to get you to do in the meditation is to take your awareness and focus it on the energy center. This is called convergent or narrow focus. It's just like if I asked you to focus your attention on the end of your nose. If you take your awareness and attention there, You're not thinking about your nose until someone asks you to think of your nose. And once you do, it's really easy to take your attention to the end of your nose. Then what Dr. Joe is going to ask you to do in the meditation is to take your awareness around the space around the energy center. This is something called divergent focus or open focus. Now, the reason that we get you to focus on the space around the energy center is to create coherence. And if you listen to the introduction on Blessing of the Energy Centers #1, Dr. Joe goes into the science behind this in a great amount of detail. But by focusing on the space around it and creating greater coherence, the whole point of the Blessing of the Energy Centers is to create coherence in each of the energy centers, which has a little mini brain in each side and in each of them. And the more coherence that you can create in each of these energy centers, the greater the vibration or the greater the frequency that will happen in the energy around. And that frees your body up to have more available healing and frequency, your body up for more frequency for healing. So it raises the vibration of the frequency, and the change in the vibration of the frequency changes the vibration of matter. And the change in vibration of matter obviously allows the tissues and the chemicals and the organs to function at a greater level, which of course will allow healing to occur in the body. Now, if I take my attention to the awareness around my nose, or take my awareness to the energy or the space around my nose, I'm feeling in a 360-degree space around here. When you're working on the energy centers, it's really important that when, say, Dr. Joe says, take your awareness to the space around your throat, what we naturally want to do is we want to imagine what it might look like from our brain. What we actually want to do is we want to feel the space around our throat from our throat, because we want to use these little mini brains in each of the energy centers. Now, this is really important. So when you're tuning into the space around a particular energy center, you are feeling into that area from the energy center that you're working with, not from your brain. We also know that the movement from what we call convergent, narrow focus, to divergent, open focus, helps the brain shift gears from high beta, which is our stress brain waves, through into beta, which is when we're learning or listening to this video, there's a good chance that you're sitting in beta brainwaves into alpha brainwaves. And alpha brainwaves are the first of our relaxation brainwaves. And it's where we are more likely to be able to reprogram the autonomic nervous system, because our analytical mind starts to shut down. So we know through scientific measuring that the movement from convergent to divergent focus, narrow to open focus, helps shift brainwaves from high beta into alpha brainwaves. That's the other reason we do it, on top of creating greater coherence in each of the energy centers. So the other thing that you want to do as you're moving your attention in and around the energy centers is you want to feel an elevated emotion. Now, we live in the hormones of stress. You know, we're stressed about the mortgage, we're stressed about our work, we're stressed about our partners and relationships potentially. And so when we're living in the hormones of stress, we live at the bottom three centers. And this tends to make us materialists, and it tends to help us, or tends to make us function from fear and lack and unworthiness and all the things that we don't have. So the point is to shift those lower emotions into elevated emotions. So when I'm tuning in, for instance, into energy center #2, and I'm feeling my energy center #2 using convergent focus, and I move my awareness out to the energy on the field around that center. Again, I'm feeling from that center. I'm feeling the energy around there. And then I feel an elevated emotion. Now, it doesn't matter particularly what elevated emotion you want to feel, but how would you want to feel from that center? Is it gratitude? Is it joy? Is it selflessness? Is it love? Is it whatever that is for you? It's an elevated emotion. And what I do is I connect in, and I feel the elevated emotion of joy and worthiness and courage. And I feel from that center, and I help free up available energy from these lower vibrational emotions into a higher elevated emotion. I create coherence into that energy center. And then what we're doing is we're changing the field. The field is what changes matter. So Dr. Joe teaches, and he mentions this in the introduction to Blessing of the Energy Centers #1, that all disease is a lowering of frequency. We know this, that the frequency changes before we see physical changes in the body. So when we do the Blessing of the Energy Centers and we raise the vibration in the field around the energy center, we help change the frequency. And that it's that frequency that changes matter. And therefore our glands and our organs and our systems and our tissues and all the little secretions and chemicals, they start to change and secrete happier, healthier hormones, and they function happier and healthier because there's greater coherence in there. And when that happens, of course, that allows the body to heal. That is why the Blessing of the Energy Centers is often the meditation recommended for people who want to heal a particular health complaint. So what you do is you're taking your attention and your awareness in convergent focus, and then Dr. Joe will ask you to focus the field around the center. You feel your elevated emotion, and then you let go. It is not up to you to do the healing. The healing happens out in the field. It happens from a vibrational point of view. So you feel the emotion, let go, and then Dr. Joe will tell you when to move on to the next energy center. And then you just work your way up the body into each of the energy centers. And then if you can, it's really great to lie down for about 10 to 15 minutes once you've finished the Blessing of the Energy Centers and just drift off. And what this does, this allows your autonomic nervous system to kick in. And because you've got a greater amount of coherence between all these little mini brains and all these glands and organs and tissues, then the autonomic nervous system can go in and do a little upgrade and heal. So that just gives you some brief information about how to do the Blessing of the Energy Centers. I really hope that we see you at an event somewhere, sometime around the world. And thanks for listening.